This is Gemara Sanhedrin Daf Samoch Dalin. I'm rolling on Samoch Gimel Amud Beis. Halfway down the wide lines, the first word on the line is Lo Yavai Vayishak Loi. All the learning should be an incredible zchos Rafua Shalima for Tinoik ben Miriam Ahuva, as well as we thank all those that donated to the Torah Anytime campaign. I believe the campaign will still be open whenever anyone hears this year, and it is certainly an incredible form of achzakas haTorah as facilitating incredible harbatas haTorah. So we're holding on to Samukimlam and Beis Omar Rav Yehuda Marav, continuing the discussion of different avodah zaras. Says Rav Yehuda Marav, Va'anshe Bavel asu as sukkos. Says the pasuk that the people of Bavel created as sukkos binois. Omai niu, says Gemara, what was this? Tarnegoiles, this was a chicken. A hen. V'anshe kos also as naragel, nergal. Omai niu, what was that? Tarnegol. V'anshe Hamas also as a shima. These are all different nations that the Assyrians conquered. The Syrian conquerors, subsequently moved to Eretz Yisrael. Vanshe Hamas, and the people of Hamas also was a shima, ma'inihu, barcha karcha, a bald goat. Ve'ha'ivim asu nivchan v'startek, u'ma'inihu kelev v'chamar. Vahas parvim sarfu es b'neihem ba'esh, they burnt their children in fire. Vesenosehem ba'esh la'ardon molech v'anamolech elokei sifar vayim umayniu. What is this? Says Gemara, hapered v'asos, the mule and the horse. Says the Gemara, adar melech hapered v'asos. Adar melech is what? Ta'adar leila mare b'ti'ina. It's referring to a mule that it honors its master by carrying the burden. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol. Vana melech is what? Ta'ani leila mare, that it responds to the master bikirva, bikrava, in battle. Av Chizkiyahu melech Yehuda bikesh aviv lasas loikin. Chizkiyahu melech Yehuda, his father wanted to do this. El shesach sai imai salamandra, but his mother gave him the blood of the salamandra, and that was saved him, and that's why he tried to burn him avodah zara, but he was not burnt and was saved. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rav Yehuda Marav, Yoidim HaYisrael b'avodah zachavim shein b'hem mamish. The Yidden know, they know that the avodah zara had nothing. So why do they do it? Says the Gemara, you know why they did it? To permit arayis b'fer hesya, a deep line that we learned from this Gemara, that even though there was no real desire for avodah zara, but they had a desire for arayis, and therefore they felt, I'll just go worship the idol, and then they'll be able to worship, they'll be able to commit whatever level of arayis they want. An incredible limud into the psyche of sometimes when one is struggling, that it might not be the thing that they're doing, but that might be just a precursor, a pretense, in order to get to something else, sometimes conscious, sometimes subconscious. Masr Misharshia, as Rabbi Sharsha says the pasuk, his karbaneim is b'chaiseim ve'goymer. Their altars are like remembering their children. V'amar Lazar, and teaches Rav Lazar ki adam sheish like gaguin al b'nai, like a person who longs for his son. Answers the Gemara, Basar daviku beis, after they became attached. So it's true, there was ended up being a dveikos, a longing, a gaguim. That was only afterwards, but it wasn't the impetus, that wasn't the reason they went to worship the idol in the first case. Tashema, says the Gemara, V'nasati es begrei gilulechem, says the pasuk, or V'nasati es begrei v'greichem, I'll cast your carcasses upon carcasses of idols. Omar Elio, Atzadik Ayamachzi, Elio, Atzadik Ayamachzi, the Bukhei Rav Shebushalayim. He would look for those who were very hungry, needed food in Yerushalayim. Mamachas one time, Matzatine Shayatapuach. He found a child. It was bloated and it was in the garbage. What family are you? I'm from a certain family. Ani. Amar Loi continues Aliyah Navi, Kolum Nishtayir. Is there anything left of your family? Says the Gemara. Amar Loi, no, lav chutz mimeni. No one is left in that family aside from me. Amar Loi, meini malamdecha davar shatachai boy atalamed. Ask Aliyah Navi, if I teach you something that you'll live by, will you learn it? Amar Loi, the child says, hey, yes. Amar Loi, Amar b'chol yom, say every day, Shema Yisrael, Hashem v'lakinu, Hashem echad. Amar Loi responds the child, as we turn over to Samach Daled and Aleph, Hos, be quiet. Why? Shlalahaskir b'shem Hashem. Meaning, again, let's go back. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. So don't mention the Shem Hashem. Why? Because his father and mother have never taught him the Shem Hashem, Rahman al-Islan. Miyad, Hoitzi Yerasa Mecheikai, the child took out an idol. This child lying there dying takes out an idol, Mecheika from his pocket. Umechabka menashka chenivku kreisa. Rahman al-Islan, the child hugs, caresses this idol at chenivku kreisa until his stomach literally blows up from a lack of food. V'nafla yerasai la'aretz, and the idol falls to the ground. V'nafal hu ala, and he falls upon it. L'kayim mashenemar. From here we fulfill the pasuk that says, "V'nasati kabrechem al pegrei gilechem." Basar daviku ba. It says, so excuse me, since it was a kasha, we see here there was quite a connection. They certainly wanted to worship the idols. The answer is the Gemara. Again, indeed, they got to that point, but that was only Basar Daviku Ba. That was only at a latter stage. Tashema continues the Gemara. They cried out in a loud voice to Hashem, their God, my Omer. What did they say? What did the Anshe Knesset say? Amar Rav Yehuda v'dei Rav Yaina's son. Baya, whoa. I knew the base. So this will destroy the base on the Ekdash and destroy the Eichel v'katlinu l'tzadikim and kill the righteousness. The Galine, the Yisrael Me'arin, exiled Klal Yisrael from its land. V'adainu meraked beinon, and still dancing among us. Kulam Yahavtilon El Kabula Beigra was not given to us, so the Yitzhar not given to us only to accept a word. La Ihu Binan, we don't want it. La Agre Binan, we don't want the reward. So says the Gemara, clearly it was a very high level. They weren't able to remove themselves from the Yitzhar from the Avodah Zarah. Answers the Gemara. This was again Basar Daviku Bey after they became attached to it. Continues the Gemara, Yosef Talasa Yomiv Tanisa. The Anshe Knesset G'dayla sat for 3 days fasting. Bo Rachman, they davin Avalu Pitzka Merikaya. Merikia, a note fell from heaven. Daviksiv Bo MS. On the note, it was written MS, which shows that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was happy that Klal Yisrael, that the Anshe Knesset G'dayla wanted to rid the incredible lure and desire and Yitzhara for Avodah Zarah from amongst them. Amar Rav Chanina Shema Mina Chayz B'Shakadosh Baruch Hu Emes. Nafak. So what happens? Kigorye Denura Mibeis Kadosh Hekdashim. A fiery lion cub comes out of the Kadosh Hekdashim. Amar Lehu Navli Yisrael. The Navi said to Klal Yisrael, "I know Yitzhar Avodah Zarah." The Yitzhar Avodah Zarah is leaving. This was the famous story how the Anshe Knesset G'dayla purged Klal Yisrael from this terrible nisayon. They grabbed the Yetzer. Ishbetu bein nasa mine. A hair came off of it. Basel kalye ba'araba meya parsi, and it screamed, and the voice went out for 400 parsais. Amru, they said, Echin Evan, what should we do? Delma mishamayim rachmile. Maybe from heaven they're gonna have mercy on it. Amru navi shadua beduda ta'avra. Says the Navi, you know you should do? Throw it into a lead cauldron, v'kasiu ba'avara, and cover it with lead, the shayev kalye, and the lead will absorb the sound, the screaming, piercing cry of this fiery lion cub that just came out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Continues the Gemara, V'yemer Zoyser Shah V'yashach Oisal Teichaifa. And they said, V'yemer Zoyser Shah, this is the evil one, V'yashlich, and he cast it al Teichaifa, into the Ephah, V'yashlich, as Evan Afaris Alpia, and they threw a lead stone on his mouth. Amri, they said, Hayel V'yisratzainu, they said, oh my, wow, oh my, we rid the Yitzer. So they said it's an Yisra sign. Nivirach, they started davening a Yisra Daveira. They started davening for the Yitzhara of Arayis. And they got that as well. There was no Yitzhara of Arayis. But you know what happened subsequently? Chavshua, they captured Tlasi Yami for 3 days. Ibua be'ate batiyam l'chayla. But they went to find eggs, freshly laid eggs for a chayil of la'ashachei. Amr, they said, Hechin Avid, what should we do? Because the chickens weren't mating. When the Yitzhahara for Arayis, for all relationships, was completely removed, the world cannot exist. So Hechin Eva, Nivi Palgosh, we ask for half. Palgamir Kiyah Loyave, Hashem doesn't do things in halves. So they blinded the eyes, that one did not have a desire after this moment to have a rayas with any of his close relatives, but they were not able to fully rid Klal Yisrael of the Yitzhahara. Amar Rav Yehuda Amarav, we're smack in middle of the wide lines over here. The first word line is Yehuda Amarav. Ma'aseh b'nachras achas. There's a story with one non-Jewish woman. She was very sick. Amra im tamud ahi shamecholia telech v'tavelu cholav v'dar sheba'olam. So she says, I recover, I'm going to go serve every idol in the world until she gets up. She reaches the Avodah of Pa'ar to defecate in front of the idol. Shalu lekaimrim, she asked the kaimrim, Kama oivdin lazu, how do you serve your idol? Amrullah, they told her, Eichlin taradin, eat beets, v'shaisin sheichar, and drink beer, matrizin befanea, and go and defecate before the idol. At that moment, Amra, she says, Mutav! It's better that I, says this woman, to be sick, and not serve such a disgusting avodah zara. Atem beis Yisrael, Einoi Kain, says Rav Yehuda, Klal Yisrael are not like that. And it's madin leval bar, as the pasuk says, there were those who were attached to Val Bar, so like a firmly fastened cover. But says Rav Yehuda, we're really davak to Hashem, geshtei tomorrows, like 2 dates advuka zubazu that are stuck to each other. And nismadin lebal bar kitzamid, that they are attached like a tzmid, like a bracelet al yidei isha. V'atem v'dikim Hashem l'keich of devukim mamish, that one is mamish davuk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Taner Rabbanan Ma'isa B'Savta. There was a story B'Sivta ben Allah. That was the name. She'eskir Chamayr l'nachas achros. He rented out his donkey to a non-Jewish woman. When this woman reached the Pa'ar, she said, wait for me, she tells the animal, till he come back. Omar La, after she comes back, he said to her, Afat Himtini, you too also wait for me. I enter and emerge. Amr La, she said to him, Lo Yehudi Ata, are you not a Yehudi? And says the person, Amr La, yes. Why do you care what I do? Nechnis Par b'fanav. He entered the Baal Par b'fanav. He defecated in front of the idol. And he wiped himself on its nose. He used the idol to wipe himself. And the priests of that idol were praising him and saying, wow, he thought he was mocking. And they said, look at that. No one did such an incredible worshipping of the idol, even though he had intentions, say the Mefarshim, to degrade the idol. They praised him. And now we go back, quoting the Mishnah. We're about 8 lines from the next Mishnah. Even if he has kavanah lebizoy lamaisa, That is the way to serve that idol. Even if he had intention to stone it, that's the way you serve that idol. Rav Menashe was going to Beit Turta Amr Lai. They said to him, they said Beit Turta Zaved Zara to Kayach stand there. Shakal Pisa Shadabe, he took some earth and he threw it in Amr La Markulasi. That's how you serve it. Amr La Azar Gam the Markulas Tanan. It says in heaven at the Shayal Beim Asa Shayal Beim Josh, they came to the base Medrash to straw at Amr La. Azar Gam Markulas Tanan. Afal Gav the Machavim the Mergame, even if you have intention to stone it. Amr La Ezel Eshkala. So he said to him, I'll go and I'll remove the clod of earth. Those are both forms of serving this ridiculous idol. Everyone leaves room for the next one to be thrown, and therefore, whether he knew it was or not, he was not able to undo his action. When the bottom of Samachtalan and Aleph and continues the Gemara with more worship of Avodah Zarah. I know you see Zara L'Mailech, Avodah Zarah, that you burn a child, Rachmana L'San, to it, says the Gemara, Einei Chayev Hashim Shel L'Mailech. He's not chayiv until he gives over to Mailech, v'yaver be'ish, it passes through the fire. Masal Mailech, v'yaver be'ish, haver be'ish l'masal Mailech, einoi chayiv hashim sel Mailech, v'yaver be'ish. You have to do the full practice of that idol, which is what? Which is both giving it over to the idol, and in the form of service of that idol, which was what? Which was to pass it through the fire. It says the Gemara Katani, Avodah Zarah, v'Katani Mailech. Amar Avavin, Tanan Kaban Damar Melech Avodah Zarah. There's man Damar says Melech is not Avodah Zarah. Tani Echel Melech ve'Echel She'er Avodah Zarah. Chayiv. Plus Rav Shimon Aimer Melech Chayiv. Shel Melech Potter. Amar Abaye says Abaye Rav Lazar Rav Shimon Rav Chelina ben Antignes Amru Davar Echel. They all are saying the same thing. Three lines from the bottom. Rav Lazar Rav Shimon Adamar like we just saw. Rav Chelina ben Antignes Tanya. What is the reason that the Torah says the term Mailech, ruler? Says the Gemara, Kol Sham Lichu Aleim Afilu Tzarar. People that they have the ruler as Mailech, Afilu B'Sarv, Afilu Kisem, and they serve it with even a stick and a pebble. That is how they worship that idol. But Rav Amar, he says, no, Mailech Harai Ika Beinayu. Says the Gemara, the chilik is going to be Mailech Aroi. When it's done in a temporary fashion, that's going to be the nafkamina between the two cases. And as we turn over to Samach Daled Amud Beis, says the Gemara, let us delve a little bit deeper what exactly it means to be Meiser Benai. And we'll say Rachmana Litzlan, we can't even fathom such a Yitzhahara to this Avodah Zarah. Omar Rav Yana Yinei Chayva Zenu L'Mishar say Avodah Zarah till you hand over the child to those who worship to serve the idol, and they then pass it through the fire. You would think if you pass it over, you don't put it through the fire. Excuse me. One handed over his child and passed it through a fire, but not for Mailech. Yachli Chayiv Tamler La Moilech Masar Vehavir La Moilech V'loy Beish. Yachli, you would think Yechayiv Nemer Kan Lahavir V'Nemer Lahalun Lo Yimotzei B'Cham Ma'avir B'Noyu B'Itay Beish. Ma Lahalun Beish Avkan Beish Ma Kan Moilech Af Lahalun Moilech. So says the Gemara, you need to have all the integral ingredients in order to be Chayiv for worshiping this Avodah Zarah. All the ingredients of giving it over to the Avodah Zarah, having it pass through to Avodah Zarah, and it happens to be for the Avodah Zarah. Not stam, the act of passing through a child through the fire. Not stam, an act of giving it over to Mailech. But only if you have both of those details that coincide perfectly, that is going to be the time that you have this chiyuv, this terrible worship, l'Avodah Zarah. Omar Rav Acha B'Rei Rava, Ha'avir Kol Zarah Potter. Says Rav Acha B'Rei Rava, if one passes through all his children, he's not chayiv. Shenever mi zaracha, from your children, v'loy kol zaracha. By Rav Ashi, ask Rav Ashi, what if you pass through a blind child? Yashin, if the kid is sleeping, ma'u ben benoya, grandson, ben benoya, granddaughter, ma'u tifshem yachad. Will answer one kasha to Tanya. Ki mizaro itniseina nasan l'maylach matam l'maylach. If you shenever le yimatzei v'cham ma'avir benoyu b'itay be'ish. Ainli Ella, do we not know only Bino Bita, Ben Binoyu, Ben Bita, Minayim, where do we see grandkids? Tamiloi Mar, Besitoi Mizaroi. So says the Gemara, one shela we can answer, which is what? The grandchildren. Says the Gemara, Tana Pasach B'chi Mizaro, V'salik Besita, two different psukim. What is going on over here? Tana Pasach B'chi Mizaro, V'salik Besita Mizaroi. Answers Gemara Dasha Achrina with two different drashis. Zaroi, from there we learn out Ainli Ela Zara Kosher. Zara Basal Minayin Damalamar Besitoi. Besitoi Mizara, that has to be from your Zara, it has to be a kosher child. Amar Rav Yehuda, says Rav Yehuda, Inay Chayev Achevrenu Derech Havara. Says Rav Yehuda, one is not Chayev unless he passed the child through the fire in the normal way of passing the child through. Hechidami Amar Abaya, Shrurga Delivna B'mitzah, a column of bricks is set up in the middle. Nura Mehagisa and Nura Mehagisa. You have two fires with bricks in the middle, and the child is passed through it. Rava Amar, about 13 lines in the wide line, says Rava, no. Says Rava, Kimashvarta de Puraya. It's a Purim style leap. A fire is lit in a pit, and a person holding the child jumps over it. Kimashvarta de Puraya, jumping with a child. And this Rashi says they will leap over fire pits. This was a form of jest. They would do such in Purim, and that was the way they worshipped this idol. Tanik was the Rava Rayo. Einay chayev achivrenu. You're not chayev until you pass it over derech havara. Have you beregel? Potter v'einay chayev ella al yetzi yerechai, only on one's own children. Haketad b'nayu b'itei chayev aviv v'imay echav achaysai. Potter. Have your atzma, you pass himself through Potter. V'las Rav Shimon mechayev echel amoylech v'echel l'shar v'dezar chayev. V'las Rav Shimon Amar, no, only as we saw l'moylech chayev shalom moylech Potter. Amar Ula, continues Ula, and he says, my time. Where did Rav Elazar Rav Shimon get his din? Amar Kra, my time Rav Elazar Rav Shimon, Amar Kra, Li'matz b'cha. B'cha is ba'atzv'cha. Rabbanan, lo darshi b'cha, they don't have such a Joshua. Ay, v'atanan, avidasai, v'avidas aviv, shaloi kodemes, your avida comes first. V'aminan, what's the reason? My time of Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Kra, you know why? Says the Torah, Eves ki lo yeh b'cha evyoin. Shaloi b'cha, that shaloi, your avida comes first, l'shal kol adam. Says the Gemara, that's not a raya. Why is that not a raya? Because Hasam over there, may Efes, we learn it from Efes. So we conclude with one last short shtickle. Amar Rav Yisrael Chanina. Shalosh krisos b'avodah zara. There's three krisos b'avodah zara. Lama, for what reason? Achas l'karkav, achas l'kedech, achas l'moylech. Uleman da'amar moylech avodah zara, he kares b'moylech lamali. According to the man da'amar that says moylech is an avodah zara, kares b'moylech lamali. Why do you have to have kares specifically by moylech? Because by all avodah zara. Lamali, Lamavra b'nai shalai kedarkai. That for b'no will work even shalai kedarkai. Ulaman da'amar megadev avodazari karis b'megadev lamali. The chlatanya hakaris tikares hakaris v'lamazeh terchos alamabadi Rabbi Kiva. Armel Rabbi Yishma v'lakvar never already learn minechasa v'chishalsha v'chishleisha lamin yesh. What's going on? There are three worlds. El v'nechlosa b'lamazeh karis elam haba. Techrais divrei karis adam abot kares divrei Torah kalashim ne'ad. That's the way the Torah talks in doubling up the lashon. We'll stop over here. We'll pick it up for the next Mishnah. And Mirza Hashem.